from Second Lady Samira Bawumia. Lastly, number one caged in Dubai as CID boss reveals.
Okay, on the front page of the Finder, 1.9 billion Ghana cedi saved in 21 months due to strict scrutiny of procurements. Historic Economic Management Team Town Hall meeting today. That's Vice President Bawumia addressing us about what's going on with the nation's economy. Teachers forced to write exam questions on blackboards. That's the Finder.
The new crusading guy lives on a chieftaincy note. Teshi has no chief. Traditional authority briefs heavy on Osu Manchester's neck. Also, in pursuit of Ahmed's killers, CID quizzes 13 suspects, 1 on remand. Also, Bawumia speaks on economy today. Lastly, horror at Massa Ekropon. Chief exhumes corpse from grave.
On the front page of the Chronicle, Achina, that story about Bawumia, again, Bawumia in tight corner. He faces barrage of questions today. And we also said that about when President Akufo-Addo met the press. We thought he would face a barrage of questions. He didn't. So we'll see how that one will go. Pollution is killing our water bodies. That's according to Afenyo Marking. And PPA saves 1.9 billion for Mother Ghana.
Also, the Daily Statesman, Bawumia leads economic management team to brief Ghanaians and economy. We also have our eyes are wide open, and this coming from the president. Lastly, PPA saves Ghana 1.9 billion procurement reforms begins to clear institutional mess.
And finally, from me on the front page of the Daily Guide, Interpol grabs #1 in Dubai. Mugabe charged. We found kidnapped girl. CID evasive on Anas Boymed, and PPA reports Auditor General 20 entities to Attorney General.
Several allegations line up on the front page of the Herald. It says MPP government officials lining up to buy men's gold properties. #1's family monitoring new Yoko Boss overseas asset. We also have government defense appointment of non-existence Catapult director. Lastly, CID boss puts kidnapped Takrady girls in danger. I'll do the Gold Street business and then we'll end with it. Foreign reserves hit long-term high, supports CD recovery, and we also have business confidence dampens again.
Let's begin anymore with the CID saying that they know where the Takrady girls are.
Yeah, Daniel, I've read the story at least a minimum of 10 times to try to see if I missed something in the reporting of this story. So yesterday there was a press conference. Mrs. Mami Atiwa Adodankwa, she's the Director General of CID and the Deputy Commissioner of Police. She was addressing us, as I like to say. Now she says that the CID and the BNI have been able to find the location of the 3 girls who are all alive and well. She's appealing to the families of the victims to keep on going on because they've been desperate for news. She said that she could not disclose the exact location of the girls, as doing that could jeopardize their safety. But I'm asking if disclosing their location would jeopardize their safety, disclosing that you're aware of their location could equally jeopardize if they are not in custody. Now, she wouldn't say whether they were actually in custody or not. So the impression that we're left with is that they're still in the custody of their kidnappers, but we know where they are. So I'm sorry, but it's really not coming together for me at all. But she says that we should keep on keeping on. They're working together to engage stakeholders so that they can bring the girls home. Sounds very technical, but really doesn't sound like she's saying much. Anyway, I guess we're keeping hope alive in this case. She also touched on a few other things that had gone on. You remember the attack on the British girls? Achina brought that story last week. They're in custody. There's still one who is out there, and they're looking for him, another Nigerian. She also talked about the murder of Hussein Swale. Also, the fact that they have 2 key witnesses who are assisting the police forensic artists. They have come up with the pictures of the men who presumably carried out the crime. They don't have anyone in custody. She also talked about what's going on with Men's Gold, with the fact that #1 is still in Dubai. He's going to court. He's in police custody. And hopefully when he's done with that case, he'll be handed over to us. She also touched on the murder of the Gapoha Public Affairs and Marketing Manager, Miss Josephine Asante, about the fact that the driver was, you remember, they had gone to do the test and then they had given a few days for them to bring the results of the test. So we're still waiting for the results of the test. If you've been following that story, I don't understand why it's taken so long. But that's it. So she pretty much touched on everything. And with everything, there's so much unresolution, if I can say that.
If you can use that expression, particularly with Men's Gold, because I remember the statements being that #1 has been rearrested on the request of Interpol, and Interpol was informed by Ghana Police, which really confirms what the Daily Guide story was, which asks us then that if it is Interpol informed by the Ghana Police that asks that Namwan is rearrested, when is he coming back to Ghana to face the charges for which the request for arrest was made? That is a key question that must be answered.
For me, what I took away from yesterday's presser was that certainly public officers must try as much as possible to know that they are accountable to the people they work on their behalf. So the fact that they line up all these major issues, which are really concerns for most Ghanaians, is important. It's very much commendable to me as far as I'm concerned. And I do hope that journalists, media personnel, civil society organization will monitor this conversation, keep track of it. We shouldn't abandon it, and keep piling pressure until we get to some result. It should be noted that our police cannot know it all and do it all, but it is okay to know that they are putting in place some effort geared towards bringing us some solution.
True. Let's stay with the police though, Achena, because the IGP is demanding speedy investigation into the Kaswa killing.
That's so true. This is also another case of a police officer discharging firearms on civilian. Actually, according to this particular story brought to us by the Ghanaian Times, the police had a distress call on the 31st of March that a graduation ceremony had turned chaotic, so they had to go and intervene. And in the process, according to the story, the police came under attack, and in the course of defending themselves, the firearms were discharged. One person is actually dead. So the IGP is calling on the Central Regional Police Command to try and investigate this speedily. So this is also going to add up to the many incidents of police assault, or if you like, police shooting on civilians, which are currently under investigation. We do hope that the under investigation will end and we will know exactly what came out of those investigations.
Right, we won't know that anymore. When I saw these pictures on Facebook, I prayed that it was a bad joke or a prank. Teachers are writing exam questions on a blackboard.
Oh, you had to see it on Facebook. I experienced it when I was in school. So I saw the story and I was like, okay, we're going back to those ages when you stand on the balcony and the classroom windows are shut and the teacher is standing on a chair and writing the questions, and then you come back in and then you answer according to what she's written, if it's ABC.
I wanted to say something, but I don't know whether you allow me to say.
I'm not mentioning Blackboard.
No, go ahead.
So for some of us, we have seen this happen, but it's happening now in the Ashanti region. So the teachers in some of the basic schools, they are complaining that this is what they're having to do. They're having to stand on tables and chairs and write questions. What's happening is that they're having to reduce the number of questions, because can you imagine if you have 60 objective questions or 40 objective questions, then you're going to have to write all of them. Then the kids will come out and you'll erase the whole thing, and then you'll come and write the section B questions as well. And they have said that, especially when it comes to subjects that have diagrams and stuff like that, it's very difficult, especially, and then with ICT as well. For example, if you're identifying the mouse or the keyboard and stuff like that, you have to draw all of that. It's just very, very stressful. The reason they're saying that this is happening is, you remember that the GES has asked schools not to collect the PTA fees. Then some schools also have the termly examination fees, printing fees, mock exam fees. And so it looks as if a lot of the schools were taking those monies and then subsidizing, as it were, so that they could print these exam papers. And since that has been cut off by the GES, it looks like they don't have money to actually print the question paper. So that's what's happening. They're asking, obviously, that the GES will intervene and help them out, because really...
So listen to the composition questions from English language, and that was posted on Facebook. Number 1, write a letter to the Minister of Education explaining to him 2 negative effects of certain examination questions on the chalkboard. Number 2, you are the headmaster of your school. Write a letter to the District Director of Education highlighting 2 things that are needed in your school to enhance effective academic work. This is not funny. This is not in the least bit funny, because there are kids out there who do not have the right resources, and we expect from them to compete on the global scale in how many years? I mean, we don't. Anyway, let me not begin complaining. Achena, let's move on.
Okay, so this is a story coming from the PPA as reported by the Ghanaian Times again. The Ghanaian Times is reporting that the Public Procurement Authority yesterday at a press briefing at the Ministry of Information actually told the whole world that based on their due diligence audit, they've been able to save the taxpayer about 1.9 billion Ghana cedis. According to them, this was so because they've set up what they call Special Procurement Investigation Unit in their office. And this particular outfit is able to check what they call tendering rigging, tendering suppression, complementary tendering, tendering rotation, among many others. For me, what I would say on this particular story is that we have too many loopholes in our procurement law. Sometimes the procurement law allows for sole sourcing, the procurement law allows for restrictive tender, and the procurement law also allows for special tendering. It is important that we are able to harmonize all of these laws so that no public authority will take advantage of these loopholes in the law and say that they were under pressure or they didn't have the contractors locally to manufacture it, so they had to go to a particular contractor who could provide it.
Thanks, Achena. Another question. When these monies were saved, was any criminal activity involved in there? Did any persons try to defraud? Did any persons try to falsify documents? What's happening to those persons?
For them, they are just satisfied that they've been able to retrieve the money.
But we should be able to prevent any such activities from happening in the future by punishing people.
That's so
even
true.
if it's going to be an administrative
sanction. And it's interesting that the outfit they mentioned was Ghana Cocoa Board, such a big outfit that, I mean, they wanted to make procurement for some agrochemicals, and they were able to save the country from such huge amounts. So obviously somebody should be able to be
remember the Seydou Agong and the Dr.
Seydou Agong
and the Dr. Punike.
Exactly.
That is also a matter of procurement of agrochemicals. So we should be very, very careful in those areas. Good morning, though, to all of the staff of Cocoa Board. I met them yesterday. Mr. Joseph Buahini Edu and Fifi Boafo and all of the rest of them. Good morning to you. Have a super day. So we are moving on to a man who has been busted at KIA with $1.4 million. Yes. And how much in euros?
256,000. So this is a story about a 38-year-old Lebanese. He's called Dawish Hussein. So what happened was that he was trying to leave Accra back to Lebanon, and he had a carry-on bag, so his hand luggage. And he seemed to be like really in a hurry to go through customs, especially with this bag. And so, they stopped him to check and see what was inside. And when you open it, there were 3 T-shirts on it and then wrapped stuff. So then they opened the wrapped stuff and they found money. They found $1.4 million and 256,000 euros in his bag. Now, the thing is that he's told about 3 different stories about where this money came from. He said he was a managing director of a company, and so he was taking some of the money back to his investors. He then said that he had actually collapsed the company, sold the assets, so he was taking the money back. And then finally, he said that, it was salaries and monies that was owed to him, and then he was taking the money to Lebanon. Either way, he has been remanded in custody, prevented from traveling, and he would be investigated and then put before court. Now, the NACOP Executive Secretary has said, Mr. Francis Tokonu, he has said that these activities by money launderers could be a contributory factor to the recurrent depreciation of the Ghanaian currency, and therefore is reminding business in the traveling public that anybody who is traveling with large sums of foreign currency have to declare them. And as far as I know, last time I traveled, when you're going out, if you have anything more than $10,000, you're supposed to declare. I don't know how you can explain trying to take $1.4 million in a carry-on bag out of the country.
Wow. I don't know how he can.
Yeah, and almost $250,000 euros as well. So, but he's been busted. So good job, guys.
He's a foreigner, right?
Yes, he's a Lebanese.
I just also do think that our laws will not in any way specially target foreigners. At the end of the day, we will become foreigners one way or the other in some other countries. So we should be liberal and treat them as we treat any other indigene of the country.
But to the economic management team now.
Well, this is the big story everybody is expecting. We are hoping that during the town hall meeting today being held at the Physicians and Surgeons building this afternoon, the economic management team will speak to us about the state of our economy. Already the Minister for Finance has already briefed Parliament on the bonds and also the cedi. We are hoping that they're going to allow people to ask questions. Of importance is the environment and the general atmosphere of doing business. Because yes, when the cedi is down and other factors are not gelling up, as a business person, you are going to flip-flop. So basically, we are all hoping that this economic management team discussion with Ghanaians is going to open a dialogue where we will all have an inroad into to exactly what must be done to push our economy forward.
Yes, and we've been asking you to send in your questions ahead of that town hall. So Farisa Akode from Adansi Fomena says, good morning, Daniel. I'd like to ask the Vice President if the cedi's recent appreciation against the dollar is just a 9-day wonder or is going to continue for long. What measures are being put in place to prolong the local currency stability against the major foreign currencies? Well, Charles, it's interesting that you asked that question because last week it's dropped as low as 5.15, 5.20. Oh. Yesterday and during the beginning of, well, that was last 2 weeks. During last week, it went up as high as 5.53 thereabouts. This morning, it's at 5.33 Ghana cedis to a dollar. So stability is not the word I'll use for the currencies rate in the past 2 weeks. But it's a good question to ask the Vice President. And you can also send yours in on 0244-340-437. And you can tweet at us at Joy997FM. Go on our Facebook page, Joy 99.7 FM. Away from the money to our mothers.
Actually, this is still on the money. A mother has murdered her 3-year-old son. Now, what happened was that a 19-year-old mother, Phyllis Arthur, she it's a heartbreaking story. She drowned her son in a bucket of water. It was intentional and it was premeditated. And her reason is that she cannot afford to look after him anymore. She's separated from the boy's father. She's finding it difficult to find work. The boy is hungry. He's crying. She has no help. She has no support. And so for her, the thing that she could do was to end his life. By the time that the case had been reported and the police came on the scene, the little boy had already died. So he's at the morgue and obviously she is in custody. Remember, Daniel, that when we talked about suicide and people taking their own lives, for women, the number one reason why most women would kill themselves was because of separation from a partner, but also issues with their children. And so as much as this is gruesome and I'm in no way validating what she did, I can understand from her point of view how she would say, I would rather do this than try and also it's an extreme, but also the helplessness that she must have felt to have done this, because it's not like it's a step parent or it's an auntie, it's actually a mother.
So she must be made to face the rigors of the law.
She definitely will. She's in custody.
Yes.
But then it also brings our support system, our social welfare system, our child protection system, all of that. I mean, if you need help, who do you go to if the family is not standing by you?
That's why children are working on some cocoa farms.
Yes, actually, they're not. That's according to the Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Cocoa Board, Mr. Joseph Boahin Edu, who you just said good morning to. He says that there's no child labor going on Ghana's cocoa farms. Okay. But a 2018 Cocoa Barometer report has said that an estimated 2.1 million children are working on cocoa fields in Cote d'Ivoire and Ghana. Now, we know from the Ministry of Employment and Labor Relations that at the moment, about 1.9 million children are engaged in child labor and 1.2 million in hazardous labor. Now, Mr. Joseph Boahin's argument is that there's a difference between child work and child labor. So yes, there is some form of child work going on the farms, but he likens it to this. If you have a 13 or a 14-year-old child who's on holidays and you're a cocoa farmer and you're going to the farm, it's only reasonable to say, oh, Achina, come and let us go to the farm, come and help mommy, come and help daddy, work for a few hours, help out and go. He said that's what's happening. That's child work. But it is not child labor, as is being reported. He also likens it to other countries like Europe and America, where children go to the ranches with their parents and they do.
Actually, that's just what I was going to say.
And they do all of that.
It's a bit of a fine line, isn't it?
Yeah, that was his point.
I have siblings who used to sell on, carry foodstuffs in the cell.
Yeah.
So are we helping out at home? Are we being forced into labor? Are we learning work ethic? By being engaged in some of these things, it's a bit of a fine line.
But he also, sorry, Ashan, let me just finish the story real quick. He also said that the thing about the cocoa farmers is that if they don't train their children in the ways of cocoa farm, we will reach a point where there will be no cocoa farmers at all, because cocoa farming is not really something that is taught, it's more something that is inherited. It's being passed on from one generation to another, and so therefore we should, allow for this.
Well, so how would he then explain the facts that the average age of a cocoa farmer in Ghana is about 60 years old? Exactly. The median is the cocoa farming population is actually aging. Okay, my producer has entered the studio. We need to move on to the online news review. It's brought to you by Zenith Bank in your best interest and Goil Good Energy. Be that person who makes payments anytime, anywhere without the need to carry cash, or that person who lives light because you use the Zenith mobile app to pay bills, top up airtime, effect instant transfers, top up investments, and so much more. Avoid delays and keep afloat with the simple things in life. Simply sign up for Zenith Bank's electronic banking solutions today and live light. Go light with Zenith Bank. It's faster and smarter. Zenith Bank in your best interest. Now make your day productive by relying on quality fuel from Goil, your 3-time CIMG Petroleum Company of the Year. Goil Super XP and Diesel XP are additivated to enhance strong engine performance and prolong the lifespan of your vehicle. Above all, you are guaranteed extra quality with our fuel analyzer from our mobile laboratory van. Get your money's worth every day by buying fuel and lubricants from any of Goil's over 360 service stations nationwide and experience good energy. Buy Goil. Let's grow Ghana. Goil Good Energy. Goil Yenara Dia. MyJoyOnline.com code CDD Ghana. They say the EC must back the new electoral roll decision with evidence. Is the evidence on the pink sheet or not? There's an op-ed from Edwinology's Lab. Good morning, Edwin. I believe in democracy, but I no longer believe in Democrats. Okay, I'm not going to try and summarize this one. Edwin's op-eds are best read yourself. Welcoming Marik Gan by Rodney Nkoma Boateng. Yes, Marik Gan was our guest yesterday on the Super Morning Show, is being given a welcome. You can read that op-ed on myjoyonline.com. Adumonline.com has a video of a drug lord who has been busted for growing weed in his cashew farm. And the BBC.com says Africa is moving closer to a single market. That sounds like good news, but the sweetness of the pudding is in the eating. Of course, it's almost time for the BBC News at 7. I'm going to take these important messages. I'll be back.
As an executive, every transaction needs to be swift.